Hello, we are here. Welcome back to the late challenge, or should I say the slightly later challenge, or really the even later challenge. Now, originally I said the slightly later challenge because it is Tuesday. We are going to be on Tuesday this week and next week. But the even later challenge because I hold my hands up. I've been a bit of a dick. I was here late. And then all of my technology stopped working. So the reason why we're starting at 2:30 instead of 2 is all on me. I apologize for all of you who've been out there waiting for the stream to magically appear. But here we are. And, you know, some of us have been away, haven't they?
Some of us have been away. Some of us have been on the Emerald Isle. Some of us have been in Dublin. Some of us have watched Oasis twice. And some of us are very tired. I would describe myself currently as a husk of a man. And imposter syndrome is running right through me right now because, yes, I went to match on Friday, but that seems like a very long time ago. And whatever else has gone on in the world since, I'm not fully up to speed on it. I know that Everton and Man United are still shit, so that's good.
Yes.
But, you know, aside from that, I know Oasis are brilliant. I know the Reds won. And I'm happy.
To be honest, luckily for you, most of what we're going to talk about is within that wheelhouse. So we are going to talk very much about your adventures in Ireland. We are going to talk about the Reds. We're going to probably do a little bit of preview to the game coming up as well. But we've got loads of other stuff that we want to dive into. Most of it will be quite easy for him. I'm going to, you know, you're getting on in years. I don't want to make it too hard for you.
Yes, indeed.
But for all of you out there, most of you want to hear what we want to say about the game that happened on Friday. So let's start there, shall we? In case you were unaware, Liverpool won. Now, I say in case you were unaware because some of the discourse since would not be the same as what you'd expect from a Liverpool team who not only won but scored 4 goals. But I think let's wind it back to the beginning. If you can, what I would say is that lots of people I've spoken to were saying, oh, it's a bit soon for this, isn't it? Like, can't believe the season started already. It's a bit early. But, and I said this to Rob Goodman a couple of days ago, you'll feel like that now, but when the day comes, the energy will be back. The excitement will be back. Now, I don't know how it was for you, but for me in the ground, there was plenty of energy and plenty of excitement.
Yeah, it was great. It was absolutely fantastic. It was everything you wanted it to be. I mean, it was an emotional night for obvious reasons, and you know, it was a real sort of you know, a mix of emotions. So you know, we had all the Diogo Jota stuff, of course, and his brother, and that was really well done. Again, the silence was brilliant, and you know, shout out to the Bournemouth fans who had their own flag for them as well, which I thought was a really nice touch. The football gets underway, and the football was good, fast flowing, loads going on, and look, ultimately, like, you know, it's not great under any circumstance to be 2-0 up, throw a 2-0 lead away, and then have to do it the way we did do it. But equally, it's pretty exciting when that does happen. And, you know, it was one of them where I thought the roof was going to come off, and I thought the atmosphere was really good. Obviously, you know, I didn't see in the ground Mo, but I saw Mo, you know, on the telly afterwards. And that's another aspect of the emotional stuff. And then we had some absolute fucking dickhead who I hope never sets foot inside a football ground again, which is the plan, trying to, you know, spoil it all by being a racist prick. So people like that aren't welcome in Anfield. And all I would say to you, if you would happen to be watching, is 1, you're a prick, and 2, you're lucky someone didn't fill you in, including the player himself.
Yes. We're going to go into both of those things in a little bit more detail as later on. But yeah, you mentioned the fact that it was a heart attack football match, and there were lots of people who I've seen since who've been saying, like, I'm not sure if I could do another 37 of them. Well, to be honest, I feel like we might have to do another 37 of them.
The way it's looking, yeah.
And part of the excitement I felt at the beginning of the game was like, at the beginning of the season, anything can happen. Like, you can, in theory, you could win 4-0 38 times. You could lose 4-0 38 times. It's just that unknown. And because we were up first, it was really kind of like, let's go out there, let's set the tone. And yeah, there were some really good things to talk about in the game. Like you mentioned, Mo, I thought he had a really good start after a sluggish game at Wembley. But obviously, the first big talking point is the handball that wasn't. And it's like, I was really hoping to kind of get through at least one game without having to talk about referees and VAR and all that stuff. But apparently, no, that is not in our lifetime. That is not in our future. The thing for me, right, is I feel like as an on-field referee, you can get that wrong. He was running, but he wasn't alongside. He was about 10 yards behind play. So if you missed that, fair enough. I'm not going to have a go at you, particularly on a night where I felt like Anthony Taylor probably had his best game referee in Liverpool that I've ever seen. But the VAR, the people who are checking it are meant to check it. And apparently, according to what's since come out, they were so focused on the first time the ball hit his arm. So what happened is that the ball hit Senesi's leg, and then it kind of brushed his hand. And then after that, he then swipes at the ball. And the VAR was so obsessed with the first time, they didn't actually wind it on to saying, hang on a minute, he's then swiped at the ball and touched it. So they didn't even check the correct part. And it's like, guys, it's day one. Are we really doing this now from day one?
It's just boring. You know, it absolutely bores the arse off me that, you know, we talk about officials so much and that, you know, seemingly they can't be consistent and they can't, you know, apply rules in the same way over and over again. And honestly, like, you know, the amount of time across all media that is taken on referees, I just think it's absolutely shite. And I think some of that is the fault of the media. You know, said this before, like if you start employing referees as part of a media production, then that is going to mean bigger spotlight on them. Bigger spotlight on them potentially means more pressure. More pressure potentially means more mistakes. And we've got like this vicious circle going on, and it's just so boring. I mean, like, you know, we've been talking about referees since the birth of football, probably. You know, Evertonians still talk about a certain referee all these years on. Don't think he's even alive anymore. And I hate it, mate, because, you know, I don't want to be talking about any of this. I don't want to be talking about referees. I don't want to be talking about finances. I don't want to be talking about owners. I want to be talking about the lads on the pitch who we go and watch, who turn it on for us and, you know, make us, give us the shock and awe that we go there for. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, look, it's clear as day that the lad's handball, they're quite, how you reach any other decision from that when he's like swiping at it, as you say, I don't know. I don't get it. You know, I remember saying on a show, like when Sloth first came in, you know, he seems all calm now and he seems all Dutch now and all the rest of it. I said, what, you know, those referees will grind them down.
He was doing his nut.
Yeah, he was doing his nut. And we've also now reached the stage where he is actively asking his players to cheat because they're not getting decisions. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, you're getting fouled, but you're staying on your feet and they're not giving it. So he's literally saying, well, you might just need to go down then, lads, to emphasise the foul, which, you know, is not ideal, not great, but it's born out of he's frustrated with the officialdom.
Yes.
And you know, I think some people have took it, some reports I read were saying, well, you know, he's encouraging the dark arts and he's encouraging cheating and that's not great. And I didn't take it like that. And maybe that's my red tinted specs, could be, wouldn't be the first time. But I think it's born from what we're talking about, which is that, you know, the officials can't turn things on the regular. And, you know, and I would say, like, I heard a point today, which I agree with on the radio this morning about, you know, Moyes and the rest of the Everton world are fuming about the penalty last night. But Simon, I actually agreed with Simon Jordan, so there's a point to note. He said if it was the other way around, you wouldn't hear a peep out of Moyes. And
that much is true.
And he's spot on, because this is what all managers do, and it's probably what a lot of sets of supporters do as well. It's in your favour, you just turn a bit of a blind eye. It's not like you're campaigning for referees when it's gone your way. And that's the hypocrisy of football.
I mean, it was notable that Daniel Farke didn't see it, needed to see the replay.
Yeah,
it's like, mate, like there was a long delay. You definitely saw it.
Just to give a shout out, sorry mate, before we carry on, we've had a couple of people throwing in, which is always nice, and we always like to give you the shout if you do that, because it's very nice of you to support what we're doing. So Ricky Dolan, £2.50, get in, have some posh crisps on me, he says. Cheers, lid.
News on that in a bit.
And then we've got Shreeman, I'm going to have a go at your name, Shreeman Kumar. I'm not doing the last name, mate, so no offence. But they've thrown in, what are these? Malaysian... I looked it up a second ago and I can't find them. Malaysian ringgits.
Ooh.
60 of those. And I've said, have a pint on me, guys. So thanks very much.
Ringgit, it reminds you of like one of those big curly wigs. I like that.
I've not heard of that particular currency before. I've never been to Malaysia. But very, very kind of you to send your best wishes and about a tenner all the way from Malaysia. All helps, mate. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Cheers. And then we've had Paul Roach. $4.99. There's a pint in the pump at Paul's Bar. Great show again, lads. Thanks, mate. And I did actually finally go to Paul's Bar, which is on St John's Road in Waterloo. Paul's been asking me to go for some time. I finally went and he wasn't there. I met his son though, and he was a great lad.
Well, there you go.
So thanks, mate. And I will be in there again because I thought your bar was great. And I'm not just saying that because you're being nice to us. It was boss little spec you've got going on there. So I will be back.
Nice.
And there's a pint in the pump as well.
Feel good story for everyone there.
And then Robbie, You'll Never Walk Alone, presumably not his actual name, but you never know. He says, well, boy, well, come back, one game down, 37 to go. You should go to Belfast, Robbo. The Isak deal or no deal. Have you seen Neville United top 4? Loads of points to get stuck into there. But I would say I've been to Belfast before and I loved it.
Me too.
In general, I'm a big fan of Ireland, but we'll come on to all of that later on.
Yes, and we probably won't come on to Gary Neville straight away because, let's face it, there's going to be plenty of opportunities to take the piss out of what he says. But in the spirit of moving on from the boringness of referees, and I do kind of tend to agree, let's focus on some of those players you were talking about who bring us joy, one of whom opened the scoring again, and one of whom had a really good game. Again, I'm talking about Hugo Ekitike, the man who was denied by that handball. It's funny you should start singing because there's been lots of talk about a new song. And what I love about Liverpool and fans is that sometimes songs are spontaneous. Sometimes it's like, okay, well, this guy's been so good, we need to think of a song for him. And it felt like the Conga one that you was just referencing there, that felt spontaneous. It felt like we just needed something. Yeah. And I love the fact that it was just like, we're not going to let this moment pass. You've been great so far. We want to give you a song, and here's the song.
Yeah, I was really into it. I hadn't heard it elsewhere, so for me, I was just on the cop, and then it suddenly it cropped up, and I was like, yeah, I like that. Simple, it works. He must have felt, $1 million being down there on the pitch and hearing that and being like, oh yes, boys.
Yeah.
And I think he's been really impressive. Obviously 2 goals in 2 games now, an assist as well. And but more impressive for me, I mean, there's an element of fortune about the goal. Obviously, I don't think he means to twat it off the fella and then suddenly find himself clear. But what I've liked about him is how involved in the play he gets, how good he is at carrying the ball, his strength, which I mentioned last week as well. But he looks a star in the making, doesn't he? And there's little bits of rawness there as well. I think, like we were saying the other week about the Charity Shield game, he probably could have had another one again.
Needs to work on his head in a bit.
Yeah, but, absolutely happy with what I've seen so far. I heard a rumour that he's living round my ways and has got quite an extravagant car.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I shall be keeping an eye out for said. I'm not going to say what it is because, one of them. But let's just say, if you've seen it, you wouldn't miss it based on what this taxi driver was telling me what it is.
Is the road just you go?
Well, it's just it's not a car you see often on the streets, let's say that. And paintwork, bodywork, whatever you want to call it, is fairly unique for British roads by the sounds of it as well. So I don't think you'll miss it if you did see it. So but yeah, he looks great. He looks good, and fair play to him. And you can see as well that, I mean, we did it on here, didn't we? We were like, well, how's it going to work if we were to get Isak? Where's he going to play? You can see already that he could easily play in a couple of positions.
Yeah,
he's comfortable out wide. He's happy enough doing that stuff. You see that on one of the goals. Obviously, he's absolutely sound in the middle as well. He's sound a bit deeper also as well. So, the manager said he likes players who are versatile, and it looks like he's got one.
Yeah, and not only that, but he's got confidence. He's really taken to it. So I think he's one of those where he's going to be like, whoever else comes in, and clearly he's not bothered by who else comes in, then he's going to be able to keep going. He's going to be able to keep that confidence and contribute wherever he can. But I mentioned the song, and there's a spontaneous song. There's been a few others that have kind of gone into the consciousness. So I saw a video from our Hotel Anfield. They've done one to the, that song, you Don't Even Know Me. It's like, oh, na eh, you go ekatike, na eh, which is a bit more for the young'uns. And there was, if you look at the video, there is pretty much loads of young'uns in it. So that might be one for them. But there was a couple more in my WhatsApp group. This does mean you're going to have to hear me singing, I'm afraid, but only a little bit. So there's one, Panic by the Smiths.
Yeah, of course.
So, instead of hang the DJ, it's ekatike, 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 ekatike.
Morrissey's a miserable bastard, though.
He is, though, yes.
And a bit of a prick.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's not like we're going to give him any royalties from it, but that is a fair point. And the other one...
And a monk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we got James, so we can go past that. Yeah. The other one, though, I don't think anyone's got a problem with David Byrne, unless I'm wrong. Psycho Killer, Ekatike, qu'est-ce que c'est? And he is French, so you got the French line in there as well. So these are all options. Now, some people just like the simple. Let us know which one of those you think you can see catching on, which one of those you most likely sing, or have you got one of your own that you want to start going? I love it when players basically inspire this thing. We haven't got to do campaigns where it's like, this fella needs a song. It's like he's got them coming out of his ears already, and all he's had to do is score a couple of goals.
It's funny how it works with stuff like that, isn't it? It's like, it's just sort of, you can't quite put your finger on why one player will just immediately take to the crowd and vice versa, but he clearly is one already, and it's like he's been here 5 minutes, and like it's, and Chiesa is another one, isn't he? Where I've been fairly outspoken on the fact that I don't think he's actually great, and you'd have to have a heart of stone to not like enjoy the moments that he had. A, because it was great for us, and B, because it was great for him too. He's finally done something in a Liverpool shirt that, whatever happens from here on in, he can be proud of. He can say he scored at the Cop End. He can say he got that moment. And it's the first time he scored a Premier League goal as well. And the song that's took off for him, it's taken the roof off at times, and it's a lad who's hardly done it in a red shirt. And like these things, I'm always happy personally now, as an old fella, to just let these things take their natural course, and wherever it comes from and however it works, I think the sort of naturally. Like I can remember years and years and years ago, and it shows you how many years ago it is, because it was Blackburn Rovers away, and we haven't had that for a while. Yeah. And I remember like people walking up from the coaches, and there was like a little group, and they were trying out different songs, and like you could just hear, nah. You know what I mean? And like after fun's trying, isn't it?
Yeah,
and seeing what catches and what catches fire, and somehow somewhere there's just like a natural order to it. I think things will be tried and failed. It will ebb and flow. But I liked how that Ekatike one just suddenly came up, because I was like, I wasn't expecting it. Yeah. And then I was like, oh, that works. Yeah, I'm into this. And it sort of, at that moment as well, it contributed to the nice atmosphere. Like I say, it was a bit of a roller coaster of a night, but there was plenty of smiles alongside the tearful moments as well. Yeah,
no, you're right. And I think of all of the new boys, he probably had the best game. Well, he had the best game of everyone. He's officially the player of the match. But I felt like Wirtz wasn't quite as dominant as maybe he was in against Palace. No, but I still think he did some really good moments. Like, shout out to our good friend Andrew Beasley. He had some great stats on him. 15 counter pressures, if you like those kind of things, which is more, well, the match is the highest that anyone did at any point last season, which was Dom Szoboszlai. His running stats were great as well. Like, I think only 2 players ran further than him. Only one had more sprints, and both of those 2 played more minutes than him. And yes, I remember us talking about these kind of off the ball things with Szoboszlai last year, and everyone's like, well, you can't just have that, you've got to have output as well, and we know that. But I do think it's important that in a game where maybe he isn't quite as influential on the ball, he can still be effective off the ball.
Yeah, absolutely, and especially against a side like Bournemouth, who, you know, one of the key things about them is that they work their asses off and they don't stop and they keep going, and you know that's why they've caught a lot of teams out. And even though they've had all of these changes themselves this summer, not dissimilar to ourselves in that respect, you know, the general ethic of the side was on display again, was there? And I seen a stat on my way in about that. You know, they'd only lost 2 out of the last 13 games away.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's pretty impressive. That, I mean, I think you know, you maybe view Bournemouth in a certain way, but when you dig into it, they've been doing all right for a while, and they've been landing a few punches on us.
Yeah.
You know, maybe not winning games, but certainly giving us a game every time we're playing them. And I think this was another demonstration of that. So yeah, you know, you can't have Wirtz turning up thinking, well, I'm this superstar and, you know, you paid all this money for me and I'm just going to showboat. He needs to put the work in.
Yeah.
And quite clearly he's going to. You know, that was one of the assets around him that you heard before he moved, and obviously he demonstrated there. As you say, I think a lot of things he was trying to do didn't really come off. I think he was trying things and, you know, they didn't quite work, and, you know, maybe it was part of the Bournemouth plan to keep him quiet. But, you know, when it's one of those games where you've got to dig in, and there are a lot of those in the Premier League, then you need him to put this work in, and he's obviously happy to do so. I mean, we know Szoboszlai will run and run and run. We've seen that already. And to have another lad in the team who's got all the ability in the world and all the skill in the world and can open up defences, but then is prepared to do that as well.
Happy days. Yeah, absolutely. So there's going to be a couple of soapbox moments in this show, and I make no bones about that. And this is the first one. Robbo referenced it earlier. We have to talk about the racist abuse of Antoine Semenyo. To a lot of people, it felt shocking. I think at the time, when the game was stopped, we didn't quite know what it was. I assumed it was like a cooling break. But the reality is that, is it still shocking? Like, if we look at the society we're in, we look across the world, we look across social media, all of the signs are there that this kind of attitude isn't going away. Even though the evidence against it is so vast, it is growing. And we, as the people who don't believe that, need to do better at trying to counteract it. Now, it was an awful way to start the season. It really was. I'm struggling still to get my head around the logic of supporting a team with a black captain and then going and saying shit like that to somebody else.
With the black Liverpool player on the same side of the pitch,
literally right in front of you. I mean, so I wanted to mention that it appears to have been handled well by everybody else. I was pleased to hear Semenyo not only praise the Liverpool players on the pitch, and you did see quite a few of them go over to him during the game and during the little break, but also praised the rest of the fans who were obviously not allowing this one person to tar them all with the same brush, if you're going to use that phrase. Like I wrote in my match report, if this idiot thought doing that was going to put Semenyo off his game, well, that spectacularly backfired. And honestly, it was actually the first time I've ever been pleased to see an opponent score against Liverpool. Like, honestly, I almost cheered when he scored the first goal, because I was just like, yes, absolutely fair play to you, mate. Like, to be able to ride these things, which are still common, but still shouldn't be dismissed as something regular, to be able to rise above that, still do your job in front of millions of people and do it that well, honestly, mate, if I was wearing a hat, I'd be tipping it to you right now.
And our fair play. Like I said before, surely he just wanted to absolutely launch him. You know what I mean? I mean, that would be my reaction. It's the mind boggles. I mean, you know, the idea that, you know, you don't know that it's around there about. Well, I do. I still see it. I still hear it. Unfortunately, I see and hear it in this city. And it's like, you know, we like to all pat ourselves on the back about Liverpool all the time and tell everyone how great it is. But, you know, these rats that exist and go around abusing people for the colour of the skin are unfortunately staying on what is a great city, and unfortunately, fortunately, they are massively outnumbered, and hopefully that remains the case. But you can't help but think that some of the other things that are going on in the world, and some of the things that people feel free, or feel they are enabled to say currently, means that it maybe filters down to people like this fella who felt unable to do that for whatever reason. But well in, mate, you'll never go to a football match again, and you'll now have a criminal record, so I hope it was worth it. And his face was plastered all over the show as well. Everyone could quite clearly see who it was, and it's like, yeah, mate, what are you thinking? How does that work? It's not acceptable anywhere. It's definitely not acceptable at Anfield. And as you say, the only sort of positive, even if you can call it that, is that everyone seemed to, from there on in, do the right thing. Yeah. So it seems that supporters around and about him were quite happy to point out that it was him. I believe that they've then gone on to give statements and things like that, which is great to hear. That's exactly what I would want and expect from supporters at Anfield generally. And yeah, it's just a real shame, isn't it, that we even have to talk about it, that he had to go through it, that it put like a bit of a stain on what was a fantastic night otherwise. Yeah. And it's just like, yeah, it's horrible, isn't it? But I think hopefully, like I say, we are at a place where anything like that going on at our ground will be swiftly tackled, swiftly challenged, and hopefully, everyone inside that ground feels they are in a place where they can do that. And and fuck all this shit about grass or any of that. I've absolutely always hated that kind of stuff anyway, and over stuff like this. There's no aspect whatsoever in my mind that you're a grass. You're doing the right thing, and you're getting rid of an absolute shit house of a person, and who's happy enough to try and spoil someone's day with absolute garbage like this. So, yeah, the scumbag's not going to set foot inside our ground again, and good. Enjoy your life, you knobhead.
Yes, exactly that. And hopefully Antoine can enjoy the rest of his life, the rest of his season. I do like to think that when Liverpool goes to play Bournemouth, you might actually get quite a bit of a cheer from our fans when we next see him. Now, I said that I've never been happier to see an opponent score against us when he scored the first goal. I can't lie, I wasn't quite as happy when he scored the second goal. No,
very much not.
And part of the reason for that is how they both came about. Now, lots has been made, and we spoke about it last week, about the defence and the counter-attacks and all those kind of things, and how we're looking a little bit more open and how we're hoping it will eventually work its way out. Well, Andrew Beasley again, shout out Bees. He's got another stat for us. Liverpool conceded 2 league goals to Opta-defined fast breaks last season.
Two already
this season, like within the first game. And it's like, it's something that you can't just brush off, even if you want to say, oh, well, it's early days, they're getting together. So did you see Carragher's post-match interview with Arne Slot?
No, I didn't actually. No, I've heard about this. Like, and it was one thing that I was like, I was running around trying to do all kinds, before I got here. Including having an hour-long meeting, and it was like it was one thing I just didn't get to, so no, I haven't seen it.
It's interesting because it straddles the kind of line between analyst, pundit, journalist, and fan. So the questions he asked is very much an analytical kind of question in terms of how Liverpool was set up, and were you furious with the fact that Liverpool was still going forward with so many men, even though they were winning the game at 2-0 and at 2-1? And that slot was very much like, well, I'm more concentrating on how we lost the ball rather than where we were when we lost the ball.
Which I've seen that stuff, like about Szoboszlai trying the trick.
Yeah, and I think that's fair enough. And again, with Slot, is what I always say about him is whatever he says about a player publicly, you get the impression he's already said it behind closed doors to them.
Yeah,
and we'll say it again.
Yeah,
and
no
then
doubts about that.
But I think Carragher was a bit more like, well, this isn't how we should be playing. So like, there's no need to be that way. And Slot was a bit kind of pushing it back against that. It was very much like, well, no, we are going to be a progressive team. And there was some kind of elements of, this is how we are, this is how we play. And he was a bit like, well, that worries me. And I think that there are other people out there for whom are worried. But I do think you have to be a little bit more kind of understanding about things. not only from the fact that it's still early, there's still so many new players getting in and getting used to everything, but Gravenberg, who is probably the biggest influence in being able to be defensively sound and decently structured, has been missing for those 2 games.
Course.
If you put him back in, it's going to make a difference.
Yeah, that's where I look. That's how I look at it as well. It's like, you can't. For me, you can't make any judgments on the structure or balance until you've actually seen what is likely to be regularly the first team.
Yeah.
And he's in any first team. Surely, he's one of the stars of the show last season. One of the players of the season. An absolute revelation. So of course we've missed them, and I think there are aspects that the balance isn't quite right, but. Over time, you would expect that to improve. The giving away of the ball on the 2 goals is not great. There's other chances in the game which are slightly worrying as well. With the one where Semenyo's sort of creeped up on Kirkes and gets on the end of that one. That's not fantastic either. But when there's so much change, there is going to be a bedding in periods. And look, it is mad. And like by the sounds of what Carragher said, the bit that I thought was mad is like everyone's up. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, well, what are we doing there? Like I get that we're an attacking side and we're not going to have any problem scoring goals, and it's probably going to be a lot of fun to watch us. But yeah, that balance there doesn't seem quite right, which I presume is what Jamie's getting at as well. Like, because it's like, that's just a bit mad, lads. But I thought loads of little things were mad. To me, I know it's an old school thing to say, and maybe my age again and all that kind of stuff. But when he's running through Semenyo with the ball, and we'd already seen in the same game, he can carry the ball, he can finish, etc. He runs fucking 80 yards with the fucking ball, and it's like, take him down.
Yeah,
and like it's you might get a yellow card, Sam, but they won't score a goal, or he won't. Yeah. So what I mean? And it's just like, for me, Canate just didn't make a decision.
No, he didn't. He was too busy talking to Virgil, saying, you get him. And obviously there was a point where it was 2-on-2 and suddenly went to 4-on-2 because they were quicker getting forward than we were getting back. But yeah, you're right. Those are one of the times when you've just got to, I mean, it was almost like he was giving him an escort straight to the goal. It was really frustrating to watch.
Because, he carries the ball well, yes. Great finish, yes. But no one puts a challenge in against him, and it's like, that's all day for him then, isn't it? He's like, cheers, lads. Well into a Neil, or... yeah, presume something like that. Sorry, mate, I'm really bad at it. Anyone who watches this regularly knows I'm really bad with names, so I'm having a go. Leave me alone. But 78 Hong Kong dollars. Really enjoy the podcast. Thanks very much.
Appreciate it.
Really, really nice of you to throw that in. Cheers.
What we'll have to do is, like, the Premier League do that thing at the beginning of the season where they get everyone to pronounce their names just so you know how to do it.
Yeah.
We should do that with all of you lot. Just send a little voice note in, just say, this is how it's pronounced.
Aku is not happy. He says, what the hell's going on here? I'm taking 5 minutes in the work bog only to find out the lad's alive. This isn't on.
Yeah, you might have to get in trouble for this one, mate. Maybe, hopefully you got some headphones so they won't find you.
Sorry, mate. I mean, this isn't going to be a regular slot or anything like that. We don't think. It's more for the fact that I was in Dublin all weekend, and then next Monday, Liverpool are playing, so it'll be on a Tuesday again next week. But after that, when things are settled down, the idea is that we'll go back to Mondays. Back
to Monday afternoons, as it always should be. But yeah, you have to give us a little bit of leeway. Like, we are very busy in our lives, and hopefully, whenever you do come to find us, we're still as good as you remember. So, sometimes you just got to ride with things, haven't you?
That's it. Yeah, we'll just keep going. We'll just keep doing it. And yeah, I mean, look, there's still a surprising amount of people who are able to watch live at 15:04 on a Tuesday afternoon. But here they are.
Working from home's great, isn't it? Let's go on, because I want to talk about Mr. Opening Day himself, Mo Salah. Now, he did have the final say. He's inevitable on the opening day. He's 10 goals now in 9 seasons. 10 goals in 9 seasons, I think. For Liverpool,
it is,
on the opening
day. On the opening day, it's mad, that, isn't it?
Yeah, and even though the fact is that that's his thing, you got the impression that even more than normal, he was absolutely determined to score. Like, the way that he chased that ball down, like there was two defenders who were probably favourites for it. He was like, nah, this is mine. Chased them down, got in there, slammed it in, and then the way you celebrate, like, again, I want to read you a little bit of an excerpt from my match report up on Substack if you haven't read it. His celebration was bursting with emotion, and it's clear throughout those feelings weren't far from the surface. From the way he reacted to the minute silence, to the furious response with a bit of fairly innocuous set-piece argy-bargy he had with Adam Smith, how long he lingered at the compliment that you referenced earlier, just watching them all singing the Jota song and kind of conducting them all. This was a textbook example of a man grappling with grief. Now, today the team used it as a force for good. There's no guarantee that this is always going to be possible. Now, this is my second soapbox moment, so I apologise. And we don't normally cue these things up beforehand, but I think we're probably going to clip this bit, so strap in. I say thank God for Mo Salah for having the strength to be vulnerable in that moment and let his whole self out there to the entire world. I think so often when you're a leader, feels like you've always got to keep it in and stay strong and stiff upper lip just for everyone else. But sometimes strength is allowing other people to feel what they need to feel in the time and saying it's okay to feel that way. This is a really important point that I will be reinforcing all season long. So I apologise if you're going to get bored of hearing me say it. This season cannot be judged like a normal season. We've all been through this collective trauma around Diogo Jota. I mean, I'm not even just talking about the parade incident. There's been two for us as fans that we've had to go through. And it's really been brilliant how we've all been there for each other and how the football in general has been there for us. But soon, the news cycle will move on. The minute silences will stop. Sometimes, maybe even the goal celebrations will stop referencing Diogo Jota. It will feel like everyone has moved on, but they haven't. These players are still going to be carrying this weight for a long, long time. And you know what? There's going to be times this season where they're going to lose matches. They're going to make mistakes. Like, they're going to make us scream or want to scream in anger and frustration. Like we were talking about with Ibu for the second goal. Like, you want to kind of grab the by the collar and go, ah! But we need to give them a break. I say that again. We need to give them a break. Like, we can't be doing the kind of things that we've been doing so far where you go on social media and there's all kinds of insults and abuse and get this guy out of our club, this guy's useless, blah, 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 blah. We need to remember these are human men, right? Young men who have lost a dear friend, someone who they spent so much of their lives with, like working, training, eating, laughing, crying. Like, footballers spend so much of their lives together. And we all know about the privileges that you get in a football life, and you all know how well compensated they are financially. But no one really understands their life like each other. These bonds they have with their teammates are so unique, and they can't be dismissed that easily. It's going to take them so long to get over this. So as much as you might want to get upset, get annoyed, shout at them, scream at them, please, I'm begging you, give them a break. They deserve our grace. It won't always be easy, but let's try and remember that. I'm sorry. There we go. Said my piece.
I mean, it is amazing when you think about the sort of the fortitude that they're showing just to carry on, just to keep going, just to make it feel so normal. Because, you know, we're in August. Diogo Jota died in July.
Yes.
And it's like, you know, everything is appearing, or a lot of the time, you know, so far appearing normal-ish. But inside, you know, how can it not be eating them up that, you know, that their mate, as you say it, you know, it's not just a teammate, it's a mate, it's someone they were sharing, you know, every working day of their lives with, just gone. And you know, I remember seeing a piece from Jonathan Northcroft, which I thought was really good, you know, around the time of Diogo's death, where he was just talking about, like, you know, just think about all of those little moments. And I think anyone, anywhere who's ever experienced grief of any kind will know exactly what he means. And so he was referencing, like, you know, an empty seat in training, or, you know, say you sat next to him on the bus or whatever. I mean, there must be so many of those moments for these lads. And so it's showing incredible strength for them to just keep on going. And I'm sure there's been lots of stuff that we'll never know about behind closed doors. And, you know, Slot has been very statesmanlike, being brilliant how he spoke about it all, and he said there may be days where you don't want to work, or you're down or you're sad, and that's fine, type of thing, and that's exactly the right thing to say, because there is no playbook, there is no textbook, there is no rules as to how you grieve. We all do it very differently, and I've talked about how I'm like, I don't enjoy it. Not that anyone enjoys it, but you know what I mean. I'm like a hands-off type person. Yeah. I don't want to look at people in coffins. I don't like the ceremony of a funeral. All of that kind of stuff. I'm like, get me away from it. But I still grieve, and like I still have moments. Even that, like I lost my dad in 2019, and there was no preparation for me to lose him. I didn't know what was going to happen. He thought he had the flu. I was ringing him up, asking him I was ringing up to wish him happy birthday. And, next minute I'm finding out he's passed away, and I'm on the other side of the world at the time. And it's like, that was incredibly hard to deal with, and still is. And there are still moments now, nearly 6 years on, where I'm like, I go to ring him, or I even think, I had something the other day, which is really weird, where I just thought, I don't know where it come from. I just thought I could hear his voice. Yeah. And you know what I mean? And it's like, stuff like that comes, because we're all human, it comes back to you all the time. And that's 6 years ago. 6 years ago. This is like a month.
It's like, what I mean? 6 weeks.
Yeah, that's what I mean. And so, like I say, to see them out there, putting it in, working hard, winning a football match, and you're right, you're totally right in what you said there about, you can't just judge this season in the way you would judge a normal season. And there are so many, like it's really hard to defend the title in the best of times, and this is definitely not the best of times. So like I say, all we can do as fans is just keep pushing them on, keep on supporting them, keep it a positive atmosphere inside Anfield. And I think you're right as well, where you said, mate, we need to cut them some slack this year,
big time,
because there will be moments, as we saw with Mo, where it will get to them. Because of course it will get to them, because how can it not get to them? It's someone taken down in the prime of their life, with no, you didn't know it was coming. It's a complete shock. He wasn't ill, you know what I mean? There was no like build up to it. It was like snap of the fingers, gone. And so that's that. You can speak to all the psychologists in the world, you can read all the books you like, but it'll still hit you like a ton of brick.
Absolutely. And it's not linear either. So there'll be days when you think you're all right with it, and then there'll be days when you're not all right with it. And I think there's going to come a point where, as much as I've said it's great the way that the football's reacted, there's going to come a point in the future where people are going to, possibly people from outside are going to be like, oh, you're milking it now, or oh, you're still going on about this, etc., etc., etc. Right? Just ignore those. Just let them shout out into the void. We need to remember that we need to look after our boys, and as much as possible, keep that in the forethought of your mind wherever you are.
Just to segue away for a second as well, I just wanted to mention before you come into the end of the show, etc.
Yep.
A few people in the comments have mentioned my wonderful T-shirt.
Yes.
So, Soz, if you're later listening to this as a podcast, you'll have to go and watch the video to see what they're talking about. But just to give you a proper look, without the microphone. So it is. Someone said it was Craig Hannon. It's not Craig Hannon.
It does look a bit like him.
I mean, similar parts of the world. It is, of course, Conor Bradley. It is Conor Bradley carrying 3 pints of Guinness. And now, so someone was asking where it's from. It's the people from Left to Right .store, if you want to go and look up their T-shirt shop. I believe they also sell their T-shirts at Hotel Anfield before the games as well. And so very kindly, they sent me one of these. They also sent me a Jota one too. So thanks again for that, mate. I said I'd give the shop a shout out. I have done. It's a belter of a T-shirt. I've had a few comments about it in real life today as well. And yeah, as soon as I saw it, I thought it's an absolute belter. That I love that. So yeah, it's left-to-right.store if you want to go and look it up. And the right is like right with a pen, not right hand.
There you go. I'm glad you got that out of the way, because it's really good. Like, I would keep looking at it when I'm looking at it. I'm basically looking at that. I'm looking at him. I'm like, oh yeah, I want one of those. But you're right. We are kind of circling towards the end of the show, and there was still so much we haven't spoken about. We've not spoken about the Scousest Italian who's ever been on this earth, who we're going to talk about in a minute. We're not talking about saying goodbye to Ben Doak. Not even gone into really much about your Ireland adventure, but I'm aware that the title of this show mentions the Geordie Grudge match.
Don't leave something out.
We can't leave stuff out if it's in the title.
Say something in the
No, we cannot do that. So let's quickly speak about Newcastle upcoming on Monday. And to be honest, like if you look back to last season's games against Newcastle, they were all pretty feisty. There was the draw up at St James's, the 3-3. There was the game that I missed because I was sick, where we beat them 2-0. And then obviously there was the defeat in the League Cup final. So I always felt like games between the two teams after that final was going to have a little bit of an edge to it this season. And then all of this summer saga broke out, and now it's become a rather large grudge match, particularly from their side. There's a few of their fan media accounts who've been going quite hard on it, and I'm sure most of you, if you're on Twitter in particular, would have heard of this fella Magpie Media. And I sent you what he said about doing unholy things to Liverpool.
I did see that.
All that kind of stuff.
Sure, lad.
Talking about, Guimaraes and Tonali snapping at the heels of Wirtz, and Joe Linton and Gordon tripping up on Salah and preying on his every touch, and all this kind of stuff. Absolute cinema doesn't do it justice. It's going to be great when we win, isn't it?
I mean, the idea that our lads and our manager aren't going to know that, you should all be on the aisle all day and it's a bank holiday and, and all that kind of stuff. It's on the telly, all of that stuff, to be fair, will not help us, I wouldn't have thought. No. And it will make it a tough match. But as you said, it was tough last year. They can be a good side. They have got a good manager. But they couldn't even beat Aston Villa, and they had a bit of an advantage there for a while too. So I wouldn't say our boys are going to be scared of anything. Talking it up in that manner is a little bit mad, but that's what people looking for clout on social media, isn't it? But I imagine it will be feisty, and like I say, for Liverpool fans going up there, well, it's a long journey and all that kind of stuff. But for the lads and lasses who live in Newcastle, well, of course, their ground's smack bang in the middle of the city, surrounded by shitloads of pubs and bars. So I would suspect that people will have a pint as it's Bank Holiday Monday, and I suspect they will be bang up for singing and shouting for their side and giving us a bit of stick, no doubt. So it will be a bit of a bear pit. It will make it harder. There's no two ways about that. On the other side of the coin, maybe we'll buy the fuck of the other side of it.
Yeah, well, I was going to ask, like, if you were him, would you go? Would you sit in the stands? Would you sit in the director's box? Or like,
surely they just say to him, stay away, because to even be seen by one person could cause murders, couldn't it? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, really. I mean, it's all been training away from the group type stuff anyway, hasn't it? Yeah. So for him to rock up on match day when Liverpool are in town, can't see that going down well.
Can you imagine him just sitting in
the away end? Climbing up all of them steps with everyone, or do you reckon he'd blag in the lift?
Oh, he'd definitely blag it. Well, I mean, you'd have to have a decent disguise. But yeah, I'm like you. I think that the conclusion to this saga might come pretty swiftly after the game, one way or another. It's been a strange situation being in part of all of this kind of back and forth and seeing his character kind of torn apart and saying, people say, well, do Liverpool want a player who's willing to do X and Y and Z? And it's like, yeah, they do, because he's also willing to do that thing where you put the ball in the net 25 times a year. Look, I mean, we have to be careful not to become hypocrites here, because there's been times when players have agitated to get out of our club and we haven't liked it. So we can't all see it.
Well, I said that before, didn't I? It's the same over the decisions. You do end up being a hypocrite because this is the nature of football from a fan perspective, in that you're so emotionally invested in it. And some people are too emotionally invested in it. And some people think, everyone on my team, everyone who works for my club, they do everything, correct in a Corinthian manner. And, it's only big, bad Liverpool that do stuff like this. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff Shearer's been saying and just think, oh, come on, lad. Exactly how it works, as though any of this is new.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And and they've got into his agents and they've got it, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, read any footy player's book from years ago, even pre-internet, and like while everything might be like sort of WhatsApp groups and things like that now, back then it was motorway service stations, it still went on in the same way, and you had all the same kind of nonsense that went on. And the idea it's any different when it involves us to someone, we don't like what Real Madrid did around Trent, etc. and so on. And this is the nature of the beast, and just recognise the nonsense of it. Do you know what I mean? Just say, if the boot was on the other foot and, you were bidding for a player and he was doing all this, but ultimately you might get his services, of course you're not going to go, ooh, well, I don't want him playing for me. I mean, I've seen some stuff with people saying that. I just think it's nonsense because, I'm not entirely sure. Like, there's different, there's different stories from different journalists, and some of the stuff seems to be that, he was led to believe that he would be allowed to leave, and now he's not being allowed to leave, it seems, although, there's still plenty of time to go for him to do that. And it's like, well, if that's the case then, well, maybe that's one of the reasons he's unhappy. And yet, when you're getting this Newcastle version of events, they seem to be missing that little bit out. Funny isn't it?
I even think some of the former players who are talking about, I would never do that. I would never. It's like, well, you've never had to do that. And that's the thing, isn't it? It's like there are lots of players out there who've wanted to leave, whose club have maybe not wanted them to leave, but they've relented before it's got to this point. So they've never had to go down this road. He's in a situation where he's having to go down this road. So I think it's very easy to sit back and cast stones.
Well, lads, Alan Shearer, true Geordie, blah, 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 blah. Not only have you got the Wizz situation that you're currently going through, where you're trying to extract someone against the club's wishes, it seems, right there, but also, have we all forgot Anthony Gordon?
Yeah.
Have we all forgot that he wouldn't train for Everton?
Apparently Anthony Gordon's even forgotten.
Because, I mean, how did that work out? Was that Newcastle getting in his ear? Was that big bad Newcastle? Was that Newcastle flexing the muscles? Was that Newcastle getting in his ear? Was that Newcastle talking to his agent? Was that Newcastle talking to the... You know what I mean? Come on, boys.
It's funny as well, because Sky Sports have been doing these transfer 360 things, which I've actually found quite fascinating, when they go back in time and look at an old transfer and kind of look at how it was all done and how it all went down. The one for Duncan Ferguson is fascinating, because they talk about how he came from Rangers to Everton, obviously around the time of his court case and going to prison, and all the great stuff Everton did for him in terms of they came to visit him and they kind of wrote him letters and all those kind of things, and really kind of repaid them. He really kind of loved that, what they went for him. They went above and beyond. But then it came to the point where he was expendable, and they sold him to Newcastle during a game. Literally, he was at the game. He'd been. The word was that he wasn't fit, but he was there at the game with his agent, signing a deal with Rodullet to go and play for Newcastle. So it's like, shady stuff in transfers has been going on for as long as we've been watching football.
And it's happened to us, like Coutinho's back injury, or all the stuff with Raheem Sterling. When he went to City, it's happened to us as well. It happens in the game, it happens in the sport, and it's not our fault it's happening to you right now. So, this kind of like turning it into this big, big bad Liverpool thing. It's just nonsense, really. Just got to give a shout out, by the way, to the Grim Sleeper, regular watcher of the Late Challenge over the time we've been doing it. Amazingly, he's just thrown in 100 English pounds.
No way.
And he says, split this between the channel and a food bank, please, gents.
Yes.
Love what you do. Keep it up, chaps.
Well in.
That's lovely of you, that, mate.
Yeah,
Thanks very much.
Fantastic.
And as I say, I obviously know from the name that you've been watching and listening for a long time and supporting us on social media as well. So that's very, very kind of you, mate.
Yeah.
Thanks very much. And I will sort out the admin of that. Not that I'm ungrateful, but you've just added to a long list of things I need to do.
There are other people who are actually going to be really grateful as well, though. So
I shall write this down
Yes.
that I now need to do that.
Right, in the meantime, you've spoken about Newcastle talking about big bad Liverpool. The one time where they really should be fearful of big bad Liverpool is on the football pitch. Because, yes, I mentioned the fact that they won the League Cup at Wembley. In the league, it's not been as pretty for Newcastle against Liverpool. They haven't beaten Liverpool in the league in 10 years. December 2015 was the last time. In that time, it's been 5 draws and 12 wins for Liverpool. 17-match unbeaten run, which is our longest against them in the Premier League era. So, as much as they may feel confident about the way that the last game between us ended, Liverpool should really feel confident about going there and getting a result.
You'd think, wouldn't you? And you know, all of that stuff that's in the daft post is probably right in terms of, you know, they're going to be fired up. I'm sure, you know, you'd be daft if you Eddie out and not try and sort of ramp up a little bit of that and, you know, make it sort of the world's against us type of stuff. But, you know, it only goes so far, doesn't it? I mean, you know, you still got a referee and his assistants running around a pitch. You still got VAR. It's on the telly. There's only so much you can do in the modern game. Like, It's not like you can put in reducers on all of our players or anything. You know, we've got plenty of players who are prepared to, you know, put a foot in, run round and do all that kind of stuff as well. And look, there's a bit of like, you know, we lost to them in the League Cup final and we didn't turn up that day, you know, and so, you know, we need to start showing that we can turn up, and this is a test of the mettle. It's a tougher way. The circumstances make it tougher, as I say, but if we want to go and defend the title, if we want to go and win the league for defend the league for the first time since the mid-80s, then this is exactly the type of match where you've got to go and turn it on. And, you know, yes, we've got caught on the break a couple of times in you know, our first league fixture. Yes, it was worrying how easy Palace were cutting through us. But you know what? Like, current Newcastle, how they've been playing, how they've been doing, are they, you know, Palace, like, we might sign one of their best players and Tottenham might sign one of their best players, but until that happens, they're a good side.
They're a very good team.
Do you know what I mean? And Bournemouth, like, their manager is brilliant, and sad to say, but someone will come in and take him soon, I think. They're unbelievable in terms of their recruitment, and, you know, they're doing really well. And this sort of belief that they've got, like turning up at Anfield and just being like, not ours. Yeah. You know what I mean? Have Newcastle got that? Have they displayed that recently? Did they display that at the weekend? There's nothing really to fear, is there? Do you know what I mean? But take away the nonsense, like. Do you know what I mean?
The funniest thing of the weekend is that it's really hard to not watch that game and think, this is a team that could do with a striker, you know. They could do someone up front. Maybe we'll have to look into that.
Maybe you should sign one, lads. just a fucking thought, like.
Now, there's still so much left to do, which we're going to have to go over into the subscriber show. Come on over with us over on Patreon. Won't be as big a gap between the end of this one and the start of the next one, because, you know, I wasted a lot of time with my computer shenanigans. But we got a brand new Italian player to talk about. We've got a bit more money in the bank to talk about. I want to talk about the Opta supercomputer as well, as they've been doing some interesting bits as well. We've got all of the island chat still to come, and a few other little ringers as well that you haven't heard about yet. So there's still so much we want to talk about. But before we wrap up on the free show, I believe we've got one more shout out to give.
We have.
Have you got it ready? So
no. Hang on a minute. I did ask for more detail on this one, and I've not. It was another thing. Do this, Gareth, before you go to the studio. Oh no, here's 1,000,001 other things that you need to do. Let's have a look if we got a reply. No. But yeah, Chloe Jones got in touch. Hi, Chloe. And she said the following: "Hey Gareth and Mo, my fiance is obsessed with your pod. He's a massive Liverpool fan and he loves the debates and the banter on your show. We're getting married this Friday, the 22nd of August, so I was wondering if you could give him a shout out and some best wishes on the next episode, please. He'd absolutely lose his head in a good way, but hopefully not before the vows. Thanks." Chloe, more than happy to oblige.
Yes.
So we didn't get his name. I did ask, but you obviously haven't seen that message yet, but don't worry about it. I'm sure he'll know that his missus is called Chloe.
We'll get married on Friday.
I'd like to think that he's like, oh, that's me, that. So yes, all the best, mate.
Yes.
All the best to both of you. Hope you're very happy together. Enjoy your big day. Enjoy whatever you've got planned after the big day. And yeah, nice one for the support. Nice one for listening. Very pleased to hear that you love the pod. Yeah. I'm more than happy to give you a little shout out.
Yeah, it's a really nice, heartwarming way to round things up, I think. Yeah. And yeah, if you've got anyone else who's in similar situations, feel free to send us messages. We are always happy to give out love to people who give us love in return. So yeah, thanks for that.
Feel the love.
Yes, absolutely feel the love, which I feel like is a really nice place to put a bow on this show. Tell all of you to come over to Patreon, where you're going to be doing all this again. We're going to hear about what's going on in Ireland. Going to hear a little bit about how Robbo ended up in a picture with Ricky Hatton and other things as well. So,
me new Bazzy.
I know he's jibbed off ChatGPT. He's actually found himself a new Bezzy. Yeah, so if you want to hear a little bit more about that, come on over to Patreon. If you're not in that way inclined, we'll see you on Tuesday.
In a bit.